like Daddy. Hey guys!
Where'd you guys come from?
Hey guys!
We're Paranormal Investigations.
And we're about to get spooky.
We're filming this video to tell our experiences with paranormal stuff that have affected us and made us start to believe that maybe there is a paranormal world, I guess you could say. So this is us talking about that and essentially how we got to this point of where we want to start investigating things and seeing if we can get some answers. We're going to start telling you our stories now. Jordan's going to start.
I'm gonna start.
So,
With that said, here's Jordan.
Also, real quick, I'm probably going to cough a lot because I'm still sick. Shout out to that bronchitis.
Shout out to
Another
you, Bronchitis.
thing, too, if you saw our last video, I had a cough drop in my mouth the entire time, and I'm sorry, but it was the only thing that I could do to not. So, if you would like to, you can subscribe
or die.
Like,
But
click that bell
share it.
with your friends.
On Facebook, with your friends, with your family, with your pets.
Get our notifications.
Put the bell button on the thing. Okay, with all that said, we're gonna start. I'm gonna start first since I don't have that much experience with paranormal stuff as these guys do. So at the very beginning of my story, well, I was with my grandma. I had my own room. I was a big boy. I was in high school.
I was a big boy.
I was a big boy. I was a big boy. So basically, I was in my room one night, and I used to watch a bunch of scary videos back then. I believed in like spirits and paranormal, but like not as much as I do now. But I was basically freaking myself out. I'm still scared, afraid of the dark. I was afraid of the dark back then. And it was one night where I thought I heard someone say, "I see you," but I think it was just my mind playing tricks on me. And that's pretty much the end of that. But then after that, I started hearing a voice saying my name at home. And it was like same voice every time. It would just say Jordan, like, and nothing else. And that continued on for a while, like a little bit of time. And then it stopped at home. But then I got to school one day, and like it was like after school activity, and it was when I was waiting on this person after she was doing something with a musical or something like that. And I was waiting.
Shrek.
Yeah, Shrek. I was waiting in the auditorium, and it started getting quiet in there because like everyone was leaving because I was waiting on her to come out, like after the show. And then I heard the voice again, but it was one of those moments where like I was zoning out, and it's like someone called my name, and I didn't really fully like hear it myself, but like my body responded to it, kind of situation where like I was just turning that direction to see who called my name, and no one was there. And then that's when I realized it was the same voice that I heard at home. And that's when that completely ended. It ended at school, which was the first time I heard that voice at school. And then that's basically the end of that. The second thing I've had experience with is, it was one Christmas where I got this new pedal for my bass. I'm a bass player. I play bass. I'm a bassist. And yeah. Then I decided to try it out, but I had a bad patch cord for my bass. And so every time you plug the bass in, it would get white noise, like a very feedback, like static sounding noise, until like you wiggle it in the right way, and then it just goes clear, and like you can basically just goes corrects itself, kind of like. And I plugged my new bass amp in, like hooked it all, everything up, and when I plugged my bass up and everything, and then it was doing the static, like doing the white noise feedback thing. Then I fixed it, and then as soon as I fixed it, I heard a voice saying, "You will see him." And
Maybe they're talking about the band.
I think they were talking about the band Him. I like that band, and I like that ghost that told me that I'm going to see him. I never seen him yet. Yeah, that's my ghost stories.
So, my ex-boyfriend, he used to live with two of his friends, and those two friends definitely had a haunted house. I was over there all the time, and there was just always weird stuff happening, like cabinets opening and things slamming and doors opening by themselves. But there was one day that I went to pick again, my now ex-boyfriend up. And whenever I pulled up on the door, they had like 3 windows going down. And then in the middle window, I saw a face of an older man. And I was like, who's that? Anyways, my ex-boyfriend came out. I was like, what is that? And he was like, I don't know what you're talking about. There's no one else in there. It's just Jeff's asleep. And then I was in there and I was like, okay, whatever. So I thought that I was just seeing things. So then, I took him over to my house, whatever. We had a normal night, took him back later. The next day, my dad went to go pick him up. Picked him up, and whenever he was waiting for him to come outside, again in the middle window, my dad saw a face of an older man. Didn't tell my dad about any of this, didn't say anything about it. My dad got home, and I got home from work later that night, and he told me that he had seen that face, and I was like, well, what did that face look like? And he said, an older man. And I was like, that's exactly what I saw the other day. So, that's a spooky story. There's also a time I was in Girl Scouts, and we went on a trip, I want to say to Cincinnati, maybe Indianapolis, I'm not sure. But we were all staying in a house of one of our leaders, like, sisters, I'm not sure. We were all in the basement, and I was asleep, but then I all of a sudden woke up, and then I saw, like, an orb thing flying up in the air, and I was like, what the heck is that? So I literally just laid there as it was, like, above me for a decent amount of time, and then I finally ended up getting scared enough that I just pulled the cover over my head and I fell asleep.
That's the best way to solve that kind of problem, is just, if you can't see it, it can't see you. If you can't see it, it can't see you.
That's how I felt, especially in my 4th grader mind.
Yeah. I still feel like that in my 23-year-old mind.
Agree.
Not 50.
And then later on, like years later, my sister said that she actually had that same experience that same night, because she was also in Girl Scouts with me. Her and her friend Faith also saw, like, an orb. So that's also pretty scary. There's been a lot of little things that have happened, just like, you know, pans falling, just like little things like that. Also, fun story. I'm convinced that my room downstairs right now is absolutely haunted. It's also in the basement.
I wouldn't be surprised. It's kind of I mean, her room looks cool, like it's fucking sick. But, like, the location of it kind of seems creepy.
It is. It's, like, in the back corner of where the basement is, and there's no windows in that room. So it's literally, like, completely dark. I have to have a bunch of lights in there. But, especially at night, it's, like, I don't know how to explain it. It's kind of like a light knocking noise that I hear every night. My dad says it's probably just, like, the heater, but you don't hear it anywhere else in the house. That's a couple stories that I have, so I'm gonna pass it on to Linda.
Okay, it's my turn. So I've had quite a few different spooky experiences. Mostly when I was younger, because I used to be a lot more in tune with that kind of stuff. Not so much anymore. And when I was younger, one of the first houses we lived. For one, I used to always sleep in. Sometimes I'd sleep in our bathtub because I'd get so scared. And for a good majority of my childhood, like when I was younger, I would sleep in my older brother's closet in his bedroom, because my room was our laundry area and it was right by the basement, and I would get freaking terrified because I was a child and I was scared of everything. To be honest with you. But anyway, so I would sleep in their closet, either in their closet or in their room, just because I didn't want to be by myself, and I felt safer with my older brother. And there was one time that I was sleeping in there, and the way our house was set up was, it was my brother's room, and then a bathroom, and then my parents' room, and there was a door on either side of the bathroom that you could essentially walk through. So you could go from my brother's room through the bathroom to my parents' room. And there was one time that we were supposed to be asleep. It was 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, whatever time, I don't know. I was a child, so bedtime was super early for me. It was completely dark out. My parents had already gone to bed, and my brother had gone to bed, and I had gone to bed, but I couldn't really sleep. And I was lying in bed, tossing and turning and tossing and turning. And I remember looking up, and the way my bed was angled, you could kind of see the bathroom when the doors open, because we normally kept the doors open for us to just go in and use the bathroom and everything. And there was one time that I saw a shadow of a person, but it wasn't like a person. It was like shaped kind of like a person, but they had like thin arms and like long legs and stuff like that. Start walking from my brother's room through the bathroom into my parents' room. And of course I was like, what the heck was that? And I thought it was my parents at first, so since I was younger, I was like, what the heck? And then I went and I woke my parents up. No, I woke my parents up because they were asleep, because I didn't know if it was them at first, but they were asleep. So I went and I woke them up to ask them if it was them who went through the bathroom. They were like, no, like, we're dead asleep and everything, like, we've not gone through it. My brothers were asleep, so it couldn't have been them. So I was like, okay, cool, you know. But yeah, so that's the end of that story when I was younger and terrified. And then there was another time in that same house. That's where most of my paranormal experience happened, was in that house, because it was spooky. Anyway, so when I was younger, my family and I, like my brothers and I, never really had a TV in our room growing up too much. Like, it wasn't like a thing that we just had. But we did have, when we were younger, in my older brother's room, he had one of those like those old box TVs, because this was like 15 years or so ago, if not more than that. So we had like a box TV in our room, and it had like colored TV, obviously, like, I'm not that old. So, but anytime we would watch anything on there, it was always colored, like regular TV and stuff like that. And then there was one time that I was trying to sleep, and I think I was the only one that got woken up by it, but the TV was off. It had been off for a long time that night, but the TV randomly turned on while my brothers and my parents were sleeping. The TV randomly turned on, but it wasn't like where it turned on to like a regular TV show. It turned on to, you know those old like black and white Mickey Mouse skits that they would have on? Like the cartoons and stuff like that, yeah. Where it was like black and white. Well, it turned on to a black and white, kind of like staticky Mickey Mouse show, which wasn't really a thing that aired during my childhood. But yeah, so that terrified me because it was out of the blue, and the TV never really did that, and it definitely didn't do, like, it wouldn't turn on its own, and it also wouldn't put on like the old Mickey Mouse cartoons from like the 80s or whenever it was. My last story that I'm going to tell today. Okay, so my grandmother died before I was able to meet her. But I was sleeping and I woke up, and this is like a paranormal experience that I felt where I felt safe. Like with the other ones, I felt like more negative energy, like it wasn't supposed to be there, it wasn't what was right. But with this experience, I remember feeling love and like positivity, and like I felt safe. And I remember smelling a really strong vanilla smell. When I woke up, it kind of looked like there was a person there, but it wasn't like significant enough for me to like remember details of what she looked like or anything. But I remember feeling like, oh, this is my angel, like my guardian angel. And it was like a comforting feeling and smell, because it was vanilla and it was nice. And I told my parents about it the next morning, because I was always telling my parents about different paranormal experiences I've had, because like I said, I've always kind of been in tune with that kind of stuff. And I remember my mom telling me that her mom, I believe it was her mom, it was either my grandma Linda or a different grandparent of mine, but I think it was my grandma Linda, that's the perfume she would always wear, was vanilla. And I remember distinctly telling my mom, like, I was like, this is my guardian angel. I remember feeling safe and everything by it and comforted by it. So it wasn't like one of those like spooky stories. So probably my last one I'm gonna tell is, so my family, and I think it's a common thing that people believe, is that if you hear knocking on your door throughout the night, you're not supposed to answer the door, because that's like death knocking. An experience that my family has had with that. So I've always been a super light sleeper, and my brother has always been a really heavy sleeper. Well, there was one night that we were all going to bed, and this was when my mom was pregnant with a child that didn't end up making it, but we'll get to that. But she was pregnant, and throughout the night there was like this loud knocking on the door, and my dad went and opened the door to see who it was, and there wasn't anyone there. But whenever the door was being knocked on, it woke everyone up in our house. It woke up everyone except for me. For some reason, I slept through it, and I was always the light sleeper. Like, I would wake up for everything. And like I said, my older brother was a heavy sleeper, but he woke up from that, and I didn't, which I always thought was weird. But my dad opened the door, and then there was no one there whenever there was the knocking. And then that next day, my mom started bleeding, and she ended up having a miscarriage because of, or obviously we can't say for sure that that's why, but it was weird that the day after, or soon after that happened, complications started to happen with her pregnancy, to where she ended up losing the baby and everything. So they always thought it was that the death was knocking at the door. Also, that's when, I forget what other family member, I believe it was, died. But my parents always say that death comes in 3. So I think that ended up being the 3rd one for it that had happened around us. So that was a spooky thing that happened. So if you hear a knock on your door throughout the night, don't answer, because
That's death, honey. Oncie.
not to mention, it could be someone trying to prank you and get you lured outside and then kill you, and that's not good either.
Man, it's not a prank.
That ain't no prank, son.
Nah, bro. No prank, bro.
No bro prank.
It's not just a prank, bro.
Bro,
Bro, don't do it.
don't do it.
So yeah, those were stories. If you thought they were super spooky, then you can like it.
Subscribe to it.
You can subscribe to us.
You can hit that bell button to get notified for our next videos.
Leave some comments and tell your own stories.
Yes, that'd be fun
Leave
to
your own
see.
stories down below.
And so this is us saying goodbye.
And keep it
Bit
spooky.
spooky.
Bye.
There we go.